Hello everyone, Lady Popiana here again, and I have David with me. He's on the side.
Hello everyone.
And today we're going to look at a few of the omnibus I have. I don't have a massive omnibus collection, but people have asked, what omnibus do you have and can you show them? So, I told them I don't have a lot, but I do have some, and I'm going to show those today. And when I first got into comics, I wanted to collect omnibus because I like reading the book together. I didn't like having the individual books. So there's a few that I have. And then I got into the individual books mainly for the cover art. And I read the individual ones, but I still rather have omnibus. So we'll start with the first ever omnibus that I bought, and that's this one, and it's called Judas. This is the first comic book I ever read and the first one I ever bought, and it was recommended to me. Me and David was in a comic book shop a couple of years ago, and the owner recommended this book, told me about the premise, and the premise is Judas, one of the 12 disciples. And it picks up after he committed suicide, and he goes to hell, and he has this long conversation. I can't tell you who drew the pictures and all of that. I don't know. It says it here on the front. Jeff Loveness, Loveness and Jacob Rib, I don't know. But you can see it here. And when I read comics, I honestly don't get into who wrote it and the artist. I know some people are big on that. I'm actually not. But back to this. At first I was kind of like, where is this going? Because Judas was in hell and he's talking about, all the things that happened to him. Why did this happen and everything? And you get to the end. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but he had a big revelation. And also, if you ever saw the animated version, and I think it's only an animated version of Dante's Inferno, this comic is kind of like it. The art style and even the story, it's kind of like that. It gives you that feeling. So, again, this is the first comic book I ever bought and the first one I ever read. And at first, like I said, when I was going through it, the first portion, I was kind of like, I don't know about this. I don't care for how this is going. But I kept reading, and it actually wasn't bad by the time you got to the end. It started picking up, and it started making a lot of sense, and it was explaining to Judas why everything happened the way that it did. And again, that book, and it's 4 parts. So I looked for it on Amazon, and it was 4 individual comic books, but they had it in this form. So this is like an omnibus. So this is, again, the first one I read. The next one is the Masters of the Universe mini comics. And I'm not going to open it because the seal on the side is split open, and we got it. We got rubber bands all over it. But me and David read the whole thing, and it picks up with who is that? The barbarian. What is his name? Ular, the barbarian, and it follows him, and it just continuously progresses on. This one I really like. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I'm not a fan of Tila at all. But in this, in the comic strip, the mini comics, she's not that unbearable. She's not that unbearable in the mini comics. So
that's one way to put it.
Yeah. And the mini comics are what you got in the toy. In the 1980s line, each toy or the action figure came with a mini comic. And they combined all of that into one book, which is this one. It
also includes the She-Ra mini comics, which are hard to read. The She-Ra was not... The comics from She-Ra were not that great.
Now, this is Masters of the Universe, the newspaper comic strips. And this one was pretty good. It was a little bit different than the cartoon. It had a little different elements than the mini comic. And I can open this one. And me and David read the entire thing. And the stories were pretty good. Teela's starting to get a little more unbearable in this one. She's starting to get, a bit much in this one. But you got some good stories in here. So this is one of the second ones that I read. And reading these, I don't really see it as comics. Because I remember watching the show and everything. So it feels kind of different than like your normal, I think, comic book to me.
Gwildor is very prominent in there.
Yeah, Gwildor is very prominent. They introduced a couple of characters. And I'm thinking it was in here. They had a character that you didn't see on the cartoon. I can't remember his name, but he's like a superhero type. He shows up. They give you a origin of the sorceress that you never seen before. They tell her story about how she has to renew herself every so many years, and then she goes out on this mission to do that. That was kind of interesting. How that all plays out. So there's a lot of good things that came out in the mini comic. I mean, not the mini comic, sorry. The newspaper strip. So, and it goes on for quite a while. So you have a lot of stories because it came out weekly and on Sundays. Okay, the next one is the Masters of the Universe Omnibus. And I started reading this, and honestly, I didn't finish it. Teela, it was just a bit too much. I couldn't take it.
Primarily, these are like an omnibus of modern Masters of the Universe comics.
Yeah.
And the writing's not very good.
The writing is not good at all. The as you can see here, I hope you can see. I know it's a glare. The drawing is not bad. The story was really good, and I wanted to read it because it picks up with Skeletor has defeated He-Man in the Masters of the Universe. He's in charge of the universe now. He-Man and Randor is living on this farm. And they don't have a memory. He-Man doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what happened. And then suddenly some ideas and thoughts come to his head, and he's getting some glimpses of memory. And he has this inkling to go follow this feeling. And he comes upon Teela. She doesn't know who she is. Everybody's mind has been wiped. They come upon Teela, Man-at-Arms, Battle Cat, and as they go, glimpses of memory starts coming back. You see Evelyn, you see Beastman, Trapjaw, you see Skeletor, you see everybody. They remember everything. But again, because of Teela and her attitude and just her blatant disrespect, her foul mouth, I just couldn't read anymore. But I really I might pick it back up because I didn't get to the point where they tell you what happened. I didn't get to that point yet. And the story goes along and it makes you really want to know what happened. How did Skeletor take over? How did He-Man and everybody lose their memory? And, again, because of the way they wrote Teela in there, I just couldn't do it. But it's a lot of other things. That was the first story. And then they give you a little, as you can see, like this one says Battle Cat. And they kind of tell you what happened with everybody during that time until they start running into each other. And as they meet each other, glimpses of memory again starts coming back to them. And it's pretty good. Like I said, the story is good. The artwork isn't bad. It was just that one thing. But then we continue on, and let's see. You got the Masters of the Universe, and they meet Superman. I didn't get this far because I stopped, and I thought to skip ahead, and I just didn't skip ahead. Who else do we meet? They got the Blood of Grayskull Part 1. I think in here they're also going to meet with the Thundercats, I think. So it's still a lot to go, and I will pick it up again, and I might have to just, read it in bits and read it in chunks. Yeah, see, we're meeting the Thundercats because we got Mum-Ra over here and everything, so that might be something interesting. So that was another one. The next comic book and omnibus series that I did read in its entirety was Swamp Thing, and this is the Bronze Age, and I read the entire Bronze Age, and I like the Bronze Age Swamp Thing. My first introduction to Swamp Thing was the 2019 version that came on, I think, the CW. I really liked that show. I thought it was pretty good. That was my first introduction to the Swamp Thing. And from there, I liked him. And when I saw the comic book and saw that it had an omnibus, I had to get it because I wanted to read up on it. And they have some good stories. He meet a lot of people. Of course, he's going to meet Superman. He's going to meet Batman. He meets Solomon Grundy. He meets the Challengers of the Unknown, the Dead Man, Phantom Stranger. The stories are well written. Some of them are continuous stories, so he meets a couple of people like Batman. He meets several times. When he meets the Challengers of the Unknown, that goes on for about 6-7 issues. He meets Phantom Stranger a couple of times, and there's some stories in there that is pretty deep. This one, let's see, it's one in there about a Native American Indian that's real good. He meets some slaves in there from the 1800s. It's just some really good stories, and that was broken down into 3 volumes. So you have 3 volumes that cover the entire Bronze Age, and that one was pretty good. This is number 2, and this one is the third volume in there. And it was a point where he met up with his brother, and he did become Alec. What was his name? Alec again. And it didn't last, and they didn't come back to that story. The story ended, or the run ended, but they made you feel like his brother had something to do with him in the accident. And of course it was a government conspiracy, but the story made you believe that his brother had something to do with all of that, with the government conspiracy part. But they didn't come back to it. Now,
Alan Moore run.
Yeah, this is the Alan Moore run, and I only have volumes 1 and 2. I didn't care for it that much, so I'm not gonna pursue any more. I thought the stories were really good. I thought the writing was good. Oh, this is volume 2.
That's 2.
Okay, let me start with number 1. I thought it was well written. I thought some of the stories were good. I thought the drawing was amazing. But the thing I didn't like, honestly, and it's just my personal preference, I didn't like the relationship between Swamp Thing and Abby. Abigail Kane. I didn't like that whole romance that they had. I didn't like it. To me, I just didn't like it, and I'll just stop right there. But that made me, I read it because the stories were good. They were well written. The drawing was good. And I liked where, how the stories were portrayed. That part I just didn't like. So I read volumes 1 and volume 2. The ones that I liked the most were in the annuals where he went to hell and he met up with all of these different characters. Those were good. I like the one where he was in Louisiana. Well, the whole thing is in Louisiana, but he was in Louisiana at one of the plantations where they were doing a movie, and he met up with all of the little slave actors. That story was good. And in volume 2, one of the last stories is when he met with Constantine, and they had this big battle when the Spectre and seems like everybody from DC came into the story, and that was really good. So this is the Alan Moore run. Again, I only read volumes 1 and 2. I thought they were really good stories, but again, I just didn't care for the relationship of Swamp Thing and Abigail. I did like, though, they gave you a different take on, he gave you a different take. Swamp Thing thought that he was still a man, and he came to realize that he wasn't. He just had the memories of Alec. I cannot remember what, Alec Holland, I think. He had the memory of Alec, but he didn't breathe. He didn't need to eat or anything, so he wasn't still a human in plant form. All his humanity was gone, and that was sad when he realized that. I thought that was pretty sad. Now this, okay, I'll show you what I'm still reading. Now I'm on Man Thing. I haven't finished it yet. I'm still reading on Man Thing. And Man Thing is a lot like Swamp Thing, although Man Thing has he can't think. He has no vocal ability. He has no reasoning. Everything is from emotion. Everything he feels is emotion. And that's how he reacts. He reacts totally from emotion.
Or he senses emotion and reacts to it. Yeah.
Some really good stories in here. I'm liking the way that this was written. Now, this story right here was pretty sad. It was pretty sad because he got conflicted. This guy here, the black guy, was being chased by the officer here. Man Thing sensed that the black guy needed help, and he helped him, and then figured out the black guy really wasn't like that stand-up of a guy. So then he kind of just... The white guy and the black guy met again, and Man Thing is there, and he just kind of walks away because he realized neither one of them are good. Both of them are emoting bad vibes, and he just kind of walks away from the whole thing. That was a pretty good story. Yeah, again, it's a lot of good stories here. I'm liking the way that it was written. I like that it's a kind of a continuous story. They keep going back to certain parts of things that's going on in the swamp. certain characters keep coming back up. They getting to the purpose of the swamp and why the swamp has this like magical powers. So that's coming up, and I'm liking Man-Thing. So now those are the books that I'm on, and I have some other books that I have not started yet. So I'll show those. One of them I have not started yet. Masters of the Multiverse. I know. I just bought it mainly because it's Masters of the Universe. As you can see, the pictures are not that great. This one doesn't look bad, but the drawings are not that good. I haven't read it yet. Again, I'm still working my way around. So this is something that I am going to be getting to soon. I have Batman, the Three Jokers. I heard about this book. I was watching somebody, and I haven't even opened it yet. I heard somebody talking about it, and I was like, wow, that sounds interesting. It's the premise, from my understanding, is that it's three different types of Jokers. He got three personalities, and that's why it's called the Three Jokers. So kind of excited to read this one. Want to see, if it's a good storyline. Looking at the artwork looks pretty good. So kind of interested in that one. This is The Killing Joke. And I saw The Killing Joke movie, animated movie. I like the movie. David said that the first half of the movie had nothing to do with the story.
So filler.
Yeah, the animated movie was really good. The first you can tell that once you watch the whole thing, you can tell that first 20-30 minutes didn't really have anything to do with the rest of the movie. You can tell that. Now this is not an omnibus, it's just a hardback of the book. I just got a hardback copy. Now this one I actually bought, and I don't know why. I don't know why I bought these. These are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, kind of like omnibus, and it's paperback though, but it's volume 2, 4, and 5. And I will read these eventually. I'll get around to these. They're still sealed up. Dark Shadows. I'm a big fan of Dark Shadows. And this is the comic strip. So all of the comic strips, they combine together into one book. And I've been watching the TV show.
Forever.
Yeah, because the TV show is really good, and then it get to certain portions in the show, and you kind of gotta stop because it gets to be a bit much. It's just one character, and she gets overbearing. Well, for me, characters can get overbearing, and I can't take it no more, and that's why I had to stop watching. What's that? Breaking Bad. I couldn't take those wives, the two wives. I had all of the show was good. All of the characters were good except for the two wives. And I had to stop watching. And it's the same with Dark Shadows. It's a really good show. I like it. But it's one character who's just insufferable. And I had to stop, and I'll start back up. I'll watch a few episodes, stop, watch a few episodes. So eventually I'll get through it. But this is the newspaper strip, and I'll get to this once I finish up with some other stuff. Now, they did have like a comic book series, and I do have it in hardback. It does come in single issues, and I've seen it. So again, I have not even started reading this yet, but I'll get to it and see what's what. The pictures look good. Look like they got some nice stuff going on. I'm a big fan of Barnabas. I love him.
Yeah, it's the old Gold Key, I think.
Yeah, and again, you can find these in single issues. I would like to have just a few of the single issues just to have some of the covers. But I would read this, not the single issues. But you can find it on eBay. I have seen it, and I think I've even seen a couple of them at the shows. But there are, let's see how many is in this set. It looks like 5. So it's like 5 in this set. And they're inexpensive. Again, I bought mine, I think, on eBay. Either eBay or Amazon. And that's another thing that I wanted to mention about Omnibus. I noticed when buying Omnibus, they're really cheap on Amazon. I go on Amazon, like when I bought the Man Thing, that was the first, like, kind of big one. Well, you know, I bought the Masters of the Universe ones. Those were fairly cheap. But the Man Thing one, I actually went into a comic book shop and I was intending on buying it, and I saw the price, and the price was like $150. I went on Amazon and bought it for $50.
Yeah, a lot of times aftermarket, they're pretty cheap online and new and still shrink wrapped.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't sleep on Amazon when it comes to Omnibus. Now, I have bought comic books on Amazon. They don't always have cheaper comic books, but I have bought some because I was buying something else, and I made a deal with the person. You can make deals with the individual, or I had Amazon credit and I used it. So, but yeah, these are the Dark Shadows ones here. So those are some that I have. And then I have 2 more. I actually just got these in. And I am excited about reading this, and I might have
another example too, because the suggested retail on that is $150, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, where is it on the back?
Yeah, there it is.
Oh yeah. Let me see if I can zoom in on it.
Next to the barcode.
Yeah, the suggested retail on this, like he said, and you can see it here, is $150. I bought it on Amazon for like $75. So again, don't sleep on Amazon when it comes, especially with Omnibus. Again, you might not get a great deal on comic books, the individual. I have bought comic books, and they will show you just a generic picture. But if you contact the seller, they know, and you ask them, "Hey, can I get more pictures?" They will send you more pictures of it, and I've bought quite a few, but this was wrapped. I just took it out of the wrap because I wanted to open it up and look at it. But this is The Blackest Night. I've heard some people talk about this. Well, actually, no. I was getting a comic, and I was seeing how many books are in that comic run, and it showed a book I never heard of, and it said that it was part of The Blackest Night. So I was like, what is that? So I did some research, and I saw what The Blackest Night is. And from the synopsis, it sounded like it was something that I would be interested in. And from my understanding, the Green Lantern is some type of entity is coming in to destroy the planet, and everybody from DC is getting together. And it kind of reminded me of what happened with in the Swamp Thing annual with Alan Moore. It was a lot going on. It was this darkness that was coming over the earth. It was darkness, total evil and chaos coming to Earth. And everybody had to come together to battle it. And from my understanding, that's what's happening here. But it seems like it's at an even greater scale than what happened in Swamp Thing. So, excited about reading that. A couple of people said that they've read it and it's a really good book. I did think about getting the individual comics, but it was just too much. And you know how it is with comics. Some of them are $1, and then others would be $200, and it's like, man, I'll never get that. So because they have it in omnibus form, I'm fine with that. So I'm excited to read this, and I might have to even move it up on the list because I really want to read it. And then this is the companion, The Brightest Day. So I'm guessing The Brightest Day, everything is happening the darkest night, so they're probably going to rebuild, and that's just my logic, thinking of what's going to happen, because I really don't know. I haven't read it yet, and I haven't heard anybody talk about The Brightest Day, but that's what I'm guessing The Brightest Day is. So these are my omnibus, and again, I don't have a massive omnibus collection, but I do have some, and I am reading it. You got anything you want to add, David?
No, I mean, we have some other stuff, but I most of the omnibus that I have are newspaper strips.
Okay.
Stuff like that, Peanuts and Dick Tracy and Calvin and Hobbes and things like that, but they're all packed away.
Oh, okay. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I gave y'all some insight and maybe showed you some stuff that you didn't think about. And maybe you would want to go and read a couple of these. If you have read some and you got some thoughts and ideas, leave it in the comments below. If you've read some of the ones I haven't gotten to yet, let me know what you thought about it. So again, as always, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and watching the video. It's always greatly appreciated. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.